Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you my Olympics 2021 preview picks and bets, and I'm going to go over everything. I was not actually really planning on doing a show for the Olympics. Thought maybe do one for the betting, but then I saw DFS did put out a 200K GPP large game, and I thought, you know what? I feel like I can provide some value, some information. So hang with me for a bit. I'll also recap briefly the 3M Open and give you everything you need to know to help you on your betting and your DFS lineups for the Olympics men's golf that will be televised on the Golf Channel starting, I believe, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Of course, I think they're about 13 hours ahead. So anyways, we're going to get good coverage of it, and we have DFS, we've got betting. Hey, might as well give you guys all the info that I have. Here we go. Okay, so if you were following me through my shows for the 3M Open, hopefully you did. Of course, I had Cameron Champ as a long shot, and I also had Killer Keith Mitchell. Champ was at 150 to 1. You had Killer Keith at 170, I believe it was, to 1. Honestly, or they were long shots, and if you guys kind of follow me, you know I like the long shots. Golf is such a high variability that these guys are all really good, and if they just, for whatever reason, everything comes together and clicks, they're going to win. So I typically do play the long shots, and so it paid off. And just a little bit about the tournament, of course, you know, Cameron Champ, I guess, came down with a little bit of a heat stroke towards the end. I think it maybe affected the brain on number 18, where he had a 2-shot lead and decided that, you know, he's going to hit driver after hitting his driving iron on the previous 8 holes. Of course, he hooked it over into the shit and luckily could punched out, which was not an easy punch out. Still was in the rough. Of course, then had to make a crazy layup to about, I believe it was around 130 yards, and then stuck that gap wedge, sandwich, wherever he hits from there, to get his par and to, of course, win. But he did not make it easy and gave me a little bit of a heart attack because I also had Jonathan Vegas, but not nearly the payout that Cameron Champ was going to be. And I could just really see a 3-way, 4-way tie with Johnny Vegas, Cameron Champ, of course, Louis. And I was like, if it happens, Louis is going to win because it just makes total sense. I had no money on Louis. Wasn't even really expecting him to do anything. So he actually did a lot better than I thought. Of course, I also faded DJ, who did not make the cut. No shocker. And, no shocker to me. I've been off on DJ for a while now. I'm not sure when I'm going to get back on that train. I think he still holds, maybe it's Rom. I'm not sure which one holds the world ranking at number 1. But anyways, neither here or there. It was a great weekend from that perspective. Even at DFS, I actually made a little bit of money doing a little bit of showdown. I only put like 25 entries in the large game and actually cashed about 75%. Oh, yeah, then Hank Laboda decided to withdraw. That just reminded me because I think he was in my top 5 picks. You know, Eagles last hole, I think he was 4 under, would have been going into the weekend. And, as everybody saw, I guess there was personal reasons. Nothing actually came out of it, but it wasn't due to the golf game. It was, due to something that was, I guess, going on that side. And then over to the right, of course, I'm sure you've already heard that John Rahm, again, somehow tested positive. And then you had also Bryson test positive. So both those guys had to pull out of the Olympics. And the good news, I'm recording this on Monday afternoon. So all the information you're getting is pretty up to date. And then lastly, of course, just mentioning it again, you can see some of the bets I had. And it was actually 181 at Killer Keith. And honestly, going into this, I had more faith that Killer Keith could win at that number. Of course, the correlation to Honda. He's also shown some life. He came and gave Rory a little bit of run at Quail Hollow for the Wells Fargo. You had Brandon Hagee, 131. Also, I thought had better odds in my mind, better thought and talent to win. And then, of course, Champ just showed some life, at the John Deere, which I mentioned, but it was kind of the courses that he's done well at in the past, more on the Safeway side. I think Sanderson Farms is a little more tricky. But yeah, that was awesome. Best actually payout, because I've only been able to bet on golfers without actually going physically to a casino or something online since I think like January timeframe. So it was actually my best hit from that perspective, I hope, again, that you guys got a piece of that action. Even if it was a small piece, 150 to 1 is a great payout. And then over, you kind of blocked out, of course, Mark Hubbard, who had a good, solid tournament. I was feeling some Mark Hubbard. He did not win first round leader, but anyways, all in all, good showing. All right, that's enough about the recap. Let's go talk about why you are here, to learn a little bit about this whole Olympics, men's international tournament. And of course, it's taking place. They are heading over to Tokyo, Japan, which a lot of those guys are already there, unless you are Mito Piero, who had a solid 3M Open. Also, Johnny Vegas, another one of my picks, who also had a really solid Open, will be playing here. So they were probably the last guys to get there. The course is called, and I'm going to butcher this probably multiple times, but I'll give it my best go, Kasumigaseki. That's probably not even close. Kasumigaseki. Kasumigaseki. We're going to go with that. Country Club. And it's the East course. They actually have 2 courses there. It's been around for a while. It was open over 90 years ago. And of course, Tom Fazio did a redesign in 2016, which they had to do quite a few things, right? They had a lot of those double greens, just typical design for Japan courses, leveraging the small acreage footprints that they usually have open available to make a golf course. And so moved a lot of trees, had to move a lot of dirt, raise some greens, lengthen it a bit. And then, of course, made the greens single greens, which then made these greens pretty large in size. So larger than average tour size that we're used to, which I always say average size around 5,500 square feet. Anything over that's a little bigger. I don't have an actual number, but if you go look, you can find some visualization or to see the course on YouTube. It's not great, but it's something. But all this information is pretty solid. It is a par 71, and the yardage is 7,447 yards. So it's a longer track, and you're going to see I do have a scorecard. We'll go through some of the holes. The fairways are actually Zoysia, which is pretty unique. If you think about a Zoysia fairway, it kind of makes the ball sit up almost like you're hitting off of, the range turf mats that you guys, would play off of. It gives a really nice, ability to strike the ball if you're in the fairway. And there is courses that we've seen that have Zoysia fairways, but like I said, they are pretty rare. Trinity Forest and TPC Craig Ranch, where they hold the Byron Nelson. You got the Belle Reve Country Club, which held the 2018 PGA Championship. And then also for the Zozo in 2019, where Mats came in second, called Accordia Narcino. That's also got a Zoysia fairways. Also, side note, I think if I remember right, Rory came in third behind Mats in that tournament, 2019 Zozo. And then, of course, the greens are a bent grass. Player field is quite a bit smaller than we're used to, even smaller than a WGC. It's probably closer to like a Tournament of Champions, which has a 40-player field. So we got 60 players, no cut. They're all going to make the weekend. The last winning score, of course, was Justin Rose back in 2016. He shot like a 16 under to win, but total different course. It was at Rio. Nothing correlates there, but I put it there just so you have it. I already mentioned the green size. There's quite a bit of sand out here. I don't have the number on how many sand bunkers, but there's quite a bit. What I could see is about 3 holes actually coming to play. I think 18's got water, and then they run a fairway up and down like a kind of a creek or river. We'll go over that. From what I've read, that they have mowed the greens very short, very tight, and so supposedly they're supposed to be lightning fast. I don't have a reading on a stimp meter, but if it's lightning fast, that's somewhere 12 plus, 13. The course defense, so again, if you get to go look at this, and I'll show you overhead view, there's a lot of trees lined that I could tell. The fairways, though, still seem pretty generous. It's not like an RBC Heritage or something like that where it's very tight. I mentioned the bunkers already. I mentioned it's got raised greens. They're very large, sloping, so quite a bit of slope in the greens. So we're going to have to look at the putting aspect. Side note, weather right now is they're hot. It's 90 degrees and very humid. Also, there's a 50% chance of rain and scattered thunderstorms through the forecast through Friday and Sunday. And just kind of a side note, Matsuyama has actually played this course a couple times. He won the 2009 Japan Junior and the 2010 Asian Pacific Amateur Championship at this course. Of course, that was prior to the renovation. So how much can you take into effect of that? But some familiarity, comparative to the other guys. Oh, also the side note, which, just putting this in, I'm sure most of you guys know that Siwoo Kim and of course Sun Jae are also playing to not have to do military service. So if they win a medal, they just have to medal. Could be bronze, silver, gold. They do not have to do their, I believe it's 2 years. So if you think about that in relation to the money that is lost, and also this has happened before to some of the Asian PGA professionals where they had to go do it and then they come back and they're a mess. Like their game just never either gets back to form. So it's a huge thing. And that kind of, you can look at that two different ways. They definitely have motivation. They've both been over there practicing for quite a while. But on the flip side of that is, wow, what a ton of pressure to know this is one of your chances, maybe your only chance to get out of that service. Okay, so as I always do, and as I mentioned, just give you kind of a visual understanding of what this course looks like. So this actual hole right here, you're seeing here blown up, and that's where they run. And I don't know what number it is. It really doesn't matter, but just that's kind of the couple holes that you can see that the water comes in. And then I believe this might be 18 here. It's got water. You can see some water over there. I'm not sure how much it comes into play, but really what you're seeing here is a lot of sand lining the fairways, and then big fairways, but you got some rough area, and then you got trees. Older style golf course. You can see some back and forth, but again, you have trees that you could get in trouble with. So just something to keep in mind. And then, as I mentioned, from a scorecard perspective, I already gave you the yardage at 74.5. But what you're going to notice on this course is some very long par fives. So you have a 640 par five, you have a 586, and you have a 625. So just three par fives. You're also going to notice very long par threes, 223, 237. You got 189, which is the shortest one, and then you got 203. And then you also got, number 4 coming in, 500-yard par 18. So this screams ball strikers. You're going to need some distance, but with accuracy. And we're going to need guys that can, hit the long irons. And that's, a good segue into how are you going to win a medal. And of course, it's not about how you're going to win the actual tournament. It's all about how you're going to place here, preferably the gold. This is what I'm going with, right? We have no historical data on this course or how people's done here. So this is going with a lot that I'm kind of referencing off other courses I know, everything I can see from a scorecard perspective. And I honestly think I'm going to work my way back. I'm going to go with guys that do, putt really well on bent, 3-putt avoidance. Well, that's all going to be plugged into the model. Going to always need approach. You could flip either one of these ball striking approach, but very key. I'm going with good. One time I was thinking good drives, but I actually want guys that can have some distance, but also combine that with hitting fairways around the green because of the sand, because of the elevation. I think around the green is going to come to play. I do think that the winning score will probably be somewhere in the upper teens. So I do need guys that can make birdies. And then my procs to the pin, pretty much I'm sticking with what I had from the 3M Open. I believe that, from the distances I can see, and actually, it's 3M Open's not a terrible comparable from if you look at bent greens and distance. Now, tons more water, but also some pretty wide fairways. So I'm going to stick with these two, 175 to 200, 200 plus. I'm going to plug in for long par threes. I want guys that can, gain strokes on those long par threes. If you think about, it was a Dell match play when Billy Horschel, won that thing. It was a lot because of how he played the par threes, and he was showing that he was doing well on the par threes. I'm not saying that's what it's all going to come down to here. I'm just saying it is relative, to manage those if possible, get a birdie, but if anything, just make sure you make your pars. And then typically they got to score on these par fives, and with the distance we have, maybe this 581 you can reach into, but the other ones are 3-shot par fives. So we're going to see how guys can manage that. Okay, with that said, I always do a large model and to show you some recent form, and I've got a couple other things. Like I said, we can't do a whole lot of historical data from this course, of course, because we don't have it. But if we plug in recent form in those stroke gain rankings that I mentioned, of course, putting, the 3-putt, ball striking approach, distance, so on and so forth, And I've got no filters on here, so I'm not looking at bent greens. I'm not looking by par of the course. I'm not looking at the yardage, and just plug in 12 rounds against that. No shocking that Morikawa comes up number one. You got Xander, Casey, Hovland, a lot of the guys that are at top. I mean, some unique ones that I think that are interesting is Hendrik Norlander. You got Mito. You got Guido at 10. So there's some names up here. I like Sebastian. But again, this is looking at recent form without any filters on against the model that I wanted to look at. And then I think this one's kind of important. This is actually kind of neat. At Fantasy National, there's a filter for no-cut events. So that takes into effect like the Tournament of Champions, the FedEx events towards the end. Takes in all the WGCs, like the Zozo, the CJ Cup, all those kind of events, and rates these guys. And of course, number one that comes out is Justin Thomas. But Cam Smith up there at number two, I think that's kind of interesting. Joaquin Niemann. And then my Sebastian Munoz, again, coming in at 4. He had a good CJ Cup and also the Zozo. So I'm guessing that helped him there. But again, some names. You got Norlander popping up again. And you got to remember, some of this data now could be older, depending on how many no-cut events these guys played in. But I would guess the bulk of it will be pretty recent. There's been quite a few no-cut events over the past super season, if you want to say. And then also, I'm going to go ahead and do my comp courses because, like I said, I'm going to give you guys my picks and favorite bets in this show. So the comp courses and tournaments, I've kind of broken into a few different buckets. We're starting off right here with Tom Fazio courses that I also think do correlate. So you got, of course, Wells Fargo. That's played at Quail Hollow. It is a par 71, but it's a Bermuda green. Plays over 7,400. Tons of trees. So I think that's a good comparable. Actually, probably my favorite comparable tournament course I could think of. You got the CJ Cup, also designed by Tom Fazio. That is a par 72. It is bent greens, and that one plays long. It was over 7,500 yards. So I think also applicable. And then if you look at the B&W Championship of courses, the FedEx playoffs, if we go back to 2017, we can pull up where they played Conway Farms, which is a Tom Fazio design. I think that could be applicable. And then also the 2019 Medina, which, actually is a bent. It's a par 72 and over 7,400 yards. So that Medina is not a Tom Fazio, but from a course kind of correlation, I think that makes sense. So I'm going to bang some of these guys that I've already kind of selected in my mind off that. And then I mentioned the Zozo course, Narshino. That's another, Asian tournament that has Zoysia fairways. So I think that was applicable. And then the Sherwood Country Club also is bent and also kind of correlated from a course play. So we can plug both of those in. They're both no-cut events. Same as the CJ Cup, a no-cut event. And then kind of moving on to right, back more on the Zoysia fairway kind of thing. You've got the PGA Championship, as I mentioned, at Belle Reve. 2018 was Zoysia fairways. Funny enough, I don't know how this kind of worked out, but for the Byron Nelson, the recent TPC Craig Ranch, that was a Zoysia fairway, and then Trinity Forest, which was where it was played previously for a couple of years. So we can look at both of those. The WGC HSB, which is played in Shanghai, China. I think you've got Xander. The last time I was played wasn't played in 2020, but you had Xander win it and Rory, I believe, are the last guys that won that. I think there's some applicability there. No cut over in Asia. And then, of course, just from a course play, the Memorial, of course, played at Jack's Place in Murfield. It's a par 72, but it is bent and it is over 7,400 yards. So, again, and then just so you know, this course for the WGC is played at, I believe, is Sheshen Country Club, and that's around 7,200 yards, par 72. So, from an actual layout, there's also quite a bit of water there. But I'm just going to plug it in. Like I said, it just gives me some more reference data to kind of help me see if the guys that I'm on are the right ones or not. And then last but not least, I always, typically like to put that one extra kernel in there. And I think looking at, as I mentioned, putting, I think it's going to be crucial here. It's always crucial, but with these very large fairways, I think maybe in a little more. We're going to look at the best bent putters. And so, of course, this is on bent grass. Over the last 12 rounds, they played on bent. And if you look right here, it's ranked from 1 to 20. And you got Xander, you got Noren, who's done well on there, Neiman, Cam Smith. That's not a shocker. This Gavin Green plays the European Tour. That's kind of interesting. Mackenzie Hughes, that makes sense. Rory, of course, just did well at Quell Hollow, which is a bent. You got Norlander popped up again. See anybody else? Sebastian Munoz down here again. And Corey Connors, funny enough. So again, it's 60 guys, so you got to remember that. Okay, with that said, let's go jump over into Fantasy National and do a little bit of the analysis talk, and then I'll come back and summarize who I like from a DFS perspective. I'm only going to give you 10 picks. There's only 60 guys, so I'm not going to give you like 20 different picks. I think 10 guys will get you off and running from your DFS side, and then I'm going to give you my 3 favorite bets. All right, let's do this. Okay, so jumping over to Fantasy National. Again, I always state, highly recommend it. Great tool. And what you're going to be looking at here, I've got no filters on this side. Again, I want to keep all the data as recent as possible. And once you start applying filters, it's going to start extracting older data. As I mentioned, I've got 10 favorites that we're going to dive into. And starting right off the bat, I created a mini model, as I always do, so it kind of focuses on the key things I want. I'm looking at putting, ball striking approach, driving distance with fairways gained, then of course birdies gained over the last 12 rounds. This information too is coming over the last 12 rounds. And then recent results. There's no tournament history here, so no need to flick on that. We'll just look at what's going on over here. And the first guy we come to is Collin Morikawa. And, out of the guys at the top, so this is like 10,000 and up, you really got 5 guys now that we've lost Rahm and DeChambeau. Of course, you had Reed come in, who's took in this last spot at 10,000. And I kind of looked through it, and I'll just give you my perspective. I think Xander, he is super psyched to play in this. Of course, he has relatives. I think his grandparents still live over in the area. I heard him talk about it a couple of times. So I know he's excited. You can see the model, is really liking him. It's really kind of a toss-up. I'm just kind of on Morikawa. I said for the price difference, I mean, it is a $500 price difference, but from a DFS perspective, again, I'm leaning towards Morikawa. That's where if I'm making a pick at the very top, I'm going to start my lineups there. Justin Thomas, of course, just, the putter's been his nemesis. He's shown some life at the U.S. Open, but that's really about it. You can see the putter's just been terrible. The driver, too, can also get a little wayward, which makes me a bit nervous. So I'm out on JT. Hideki, I've already mentioned, has had, past experience here before the redesign. I think, again, a lot of pressure in the putter will hold him back. But, Augusta National, I don't want to say it is a great comp course, but it's around. I mean, you got bent greens. They're going to be fast is what I hear. Wide fairways. But if you miss, you're in the pines or the trees. So, he won there. It was, just like a Cameron Champ out of nowhere. Gains 5-6 strokes with the putter, which never does. And there you go. You're going to win a tournament. So, also you can make a case, Rory, you can see a lot of good things, but the putter, not where I want it. And the driver's still a little erratic. Of course, he won at Wells Fargo, a Tom Fazio design. I also believe, and I already blanked, that's Bermuda. I was always kind of get Muirfield and Wells Fargo mixed up. But anyways, but yeah, my guy is going to be Collin. And let's, I don't know how much we're going to have from the comparable side that I want to run through. But we'll see. So we can take a quick look. Out of his career, Bent's been his best surface. Gains, almost 2 strokes when he's on the difficult courses. Wins kind of whatever. He just hits fairways, has the best approach game there is. We already know that. You can see with where the putter can cause some issues. And of course, coming off the win off the Open, which typically I don't like to pick guys that just came off a win, but I mean, just ridiculous. A second at Memorial, which was, a playoff, a 4th at the U.S. Open, wins the Open, first time playing in those kind of conditions. And again, I mean, league style golf. Now, it wasn't a typical Open weather, kind of thing, but neither here or there. You cannot argue recent form. Everything, even Charles Schwab, the Colonial, you could say also not a bad course to comp. It's quite a bit shorter, but I believe it is bent greens, and they do have the trees. So, yeah, everything looks solid from there. If we go look at... So he did not play at Wells Fargo. I did not know that. But we look at the CJ Cup. The one we're going to look at, we could look at both really, but he's at a 12th there, no cut event. Also Tom Fazio. We look at the BMW. And we can look at both of these. You know, again, did pretty well. A 20th. Looking at, so we'll look at the Zozo. A 50th recently, but a 22nd before that. So again, that would be Sherwood Country Club. I always want to say Sherwood Forest for some odd reason. I guess Robin Hood. And then this would be the one that was played at Nardino. Let's just make sure I got that right. Yeah, Accordia Golf Narcino. Different greens, as you can see, past Palm. But, and if we go look, I don't know if he played the Byron. No. What else did I was going to look at? What about, we already saw the Memorial. He came in the playoff with Cantlay after Rahm sadly had to be ejected. And then WGC, he's never played the one that I was looking at. Okay, well, we could look at WGC period. I think they're, I mean, from a course side, they're not going to fit, but just as a no-cut event, just to give you an idea how he's done. All right, anyways, Morikawa is my number one guy in at that, of course, highest price. I always typically also say I don't like to play the highest price guy in DFS, but when I look at these guys, I mean, like I said, you know, I think they're all going to be pretty chalky. You know, probably Reed would be the least chalky. We can see ownership already coming in. And right now he is the chalkiest, almost at 24%. Okay, Mr. Victor Hovland. You know, this guy, funny enough, when I watched the videos on this course, the first guys that I actually thought of was Victor Hovland and Corey Connors. You know, the putter is where it's all going to come for them, but I wanted kind of guys that would just, you know, awesome tee to green, and same with Morikawa, don't get me wrong. But, you know, they were just the guys that kind of popped in my head that should do well at this kind of track. You can see the opening at 12th place tie, or a T12. The U.S. Open, he headed W, you know, would draw. I think he was in a shot out of the sand or something and got a rock in his eye, something like that. He did well at Wells Fargo. All in all, pretty solid. Everything I'm looking for. You know, I like to see. Typically, he makes a lot of birdies. So I'm kind of shocked at this. He also had that win recently, which is not going to show up here over in Germany, the Porsche, whatever it was. So just so you know, he's had a win pretty recently. You can see Bent over his life is slightly negative comparative. Difficult courses, which like I said, I don't know. Right now, I'd probably rate this course as average because I just don't know enough about it. Haven't seen it ever played. I'd put it, I wouldn't put it easy, but I'll put it more average to slightly difficult from what I can see. And if we go put in Wells Fargo, recently he had a third. We put the CJ Cups. He had a 12th and a 31st. While we're at it, let's just do Zozo, a 47th and a 41st. And the BMW, he had a 40th. What about the Byron? He did not play Memorial. A couple of 40ths, 47th, 48th. And then WGC events, that's not the one, the HSBC, but this would be at Congression. And then this one is one that's coming up. This is a pretty easy track. So TPC South one, I believe is what that is. Okay. So I like Victor. And again, a bit of this is just the guys that I know are in good form and who I'm kind of going with. I mean, Reed, again, you can see, you know, on some very simple courses, the Travelers, the Rocket, the 3M Open, he just, you know, he's just not doing Reed-like things. And so honestly, if I had to, I would pick between Colin, Xander, and Rory. And then probably my top two would be Xander and Colin. And my number one out of those two is a coin. And it's not because of this model rank. It really isn't. It's just due to everything I've been seeing. And of course, this, how can you argue with? You couldn't have any more confidence after, you know, a T4 at the U.S. Open, winning the Open, a second at Memorial, like a T8 at the PGA. Like, it's just been in fuego. Okay. Shane Lowry was an interesting guy to look at. I think he could be a good play. You got Paul Casey, great tee to green. It's all what the putter does. You know, Answer, hey, man, this could be his spot. I mean, I think he's won the Australian Open, if I remember correctly. But other than that, he's not won a tournament. So this could be a good spot for him. I also think of the kind of the Latin American guys that they're going to take this very serious. Joaquin, you can see the model really likes at fourth. No arguments there. You got Sanjay M that I already mentioned that's trying to get out of his military service. But the next guy I land on, and maybe it's a little bit of I'm a slappy for Cam Smith, but I'm thinking good putters here. And it's kind of funny. I'm either looking at great ball strikers that don't putt very well, but could have that one weekend, or I'm looking at the guys that could just light it up on the greens and can manage their way around the course. So I go to Cam Smith. That's my guy. You can see, not the greatest recently. I mean, he had the win at the Zurich, the team match thing, but a 33rd at the Open, a 30th at the Travelers, a couple of miscuts here, a couple tougher venues, a T59. But he is making birdies what he does. Great putter. We'll say, as you can see against the field, average on everything else. Let's just go plug in Cam, and we can look at some more details. So, Poa is his best surface over his life, but, second would be bent. Maybe, not the best, I guess, which I have a hard time believing it, but it's what it is. That difficult courses is not his favorite. Can handle the wind if that blows. Makes sense from Australia. Just looking back. So, yeah, I mean, had a good showing at Genesis Concessions. He had that nice run right through here. Maybe falling off a little bit since. Let's go look at Wells Fargo. He missed a cut, but that was way back, 2016. Let me put that in again, just make sure, yeah. All right, CJ Cups. He had a nice run here. I was on him. He had 11th at Shadow Creek. Again, Tom Fazio. And then had a third on the one that they had to go. So that's 9 Bridges, which is also over in Asia. So, do what you want with that. If I remember right, 9 Bridges is not that tough of a track, though, comparative. Sorry about that. Let's go look at some other comparables. Okay, so what about the BMW? So, yeah, he had a good showing, I remember, during the FedEx race last year. So, 20th there. If we look at... Did we look at this also? Okay, at a 4th at... that'd be Sherwood Forest. And then moving down... Did he play at the Byron? Yeah, a long time ago, so we're not worried about that. How did he do a Memorial miscut recently? And then WGC events. Let's see if he played... So he has played in the HSBC. That's the one over in China that I was curious about. Just seeing. He's not done real well on that course in China, plain and simple. Good showing at Concession here recently. So kind of do what you want with that. But I like Cam Smith. Again, that's just my flavor, what I'm going with. You can make a lot of cases for a lot of these guys at the top. I already mentioned Corey Connors, was kind of one of the first guys. Funny enough, you can see quite a high ownership, which is interesting, but if we go click on Corey, I think we all know his whole story. It's the putter. If he has a hot putter, Bent's second to worst. I mean, Poa's, he does the worst on over his career. Yeah, can manage the courses. Funny enough, wind, which is odd. At crazy wind, he's so accurate. You would think he'd be okay with that. Let's go look. So how'd you do at the Wells Fargo? We had a 43rd recently, a 42nd before. So that's okay. Let's go look at the CJ Cup. 61st, a 12th. If we look at the Zozo while we're just at it, an 8th and a 6th. So that'd be Sherwood Forest and then the one over in Asia. What about the BMW? A 33rd and a 7th. And then this one, I just want to confirm. Yeah, that's the one at Medina. Okay. And then what about the Byron? He had a 53rd, but that was a while back. Memorial, Murfield Village, a 53rd recently. And let's go look at his WGCs. So this is the one in China here. He had a 20th, a 27th before that, and a 30th. But that's a pretty easy track. Okay, so that's Corey for you. Christian Bezainhu was someone else, of course, you can see he ranks number 1 putting against this field. Somebody that I was interested in. Someone I'll probably sprinkle in. but he's not one of my top 10. Model likes him. You can see he's making birdies, you know, staying right in the 30s, depending, no matter what it is, except for the Open. So good recent form. No on Tommy, just not going to do it. I think he was either Lowry or him. I'm guessing it was Ty Hatton. He withdrew, and Tommy must have got his spot, if I remember off the top of my head. Leishman, not too dissimilar actually from a Cam Smith kind of play. You know, I don't know how much DFS I'm actually going to do this week, just like probably you guys, but I will do an ownership kind of swaps if I see Leishman stays below 10% come Wednesday, and I'm not sure if I'm going to put a show out or not for Wednesday. I might, just to get you guys ownership projections. Actually, let me know. How about that? In the YouTube comments, if you're watching this, hey, let me know if you want me to do an ownership and anything else that I see. Because typically, like I said, that'd be about the only thing of value I think I could help you out guys with. All right. Skipping down, Guido could be an interesting play. Of course, we've only seen a little bit of him. Some success over on the European. Really kind of popped on everybody's radar at the U.S. Open. Got Garrick Hago just coming off the Palmetto, but's had some miscuts since then. But, I don't think he's a terrible play. Alex Noren's been kind of struggling in recent form, but again, putting, he's up there. Tom Peters, pretty good from tee to green, just terrible putter. Had that nice run in the Island Course Tour. The next guy I'm going to land on that I'm going with is Mackenzie Hughes. Has been showing really good form for Mackenzie Hughes. The putter, of course, is elite. It's just everything else that he needs to do. And we'll just go plug in and see what... so his best surface is bent, so that's a positive. Let's go down and see some of the comparables. So Wells Fargo, he had a miscut recently. How about the CJ Cup? He played in the 1 in 20, which would have been Shadow Creek. What about Zozo? He had a 41st at the Zozo. I kind of remember this. He started, I think, trending a little bit like Cam Smith as the FedEx playoffs came along. What about the BMW? Yeah, so he had a 10th and at the FedEx at the BMW, a 44th before that, but that doesn't count. 2017. What about, did I do the Zozo? Yeah, I already did that. What about the Byron? That would be a Trinity Forest, so it is a Zoysia, but that's not the one I was really looking for. What about Memorial? Miscut recently, but before that is 6. And then probably the key one is just going through the WGC events and see how they've done in this kind of same thing, kind of an Olympic, players from all over the place playing in a no-cut event. You can see Firestone, where they played the Bridgestone, not a bad comparable course, possibly too. It's just been a while ago. I think now they play this one of the Champions tournaments there. That's in Ohio. I've actually had the opportunity to play there. I didn't get to, but I had the opportunity. I'm going to have to get down there and play. All right. Funny enough, coming probably off the cuff, little side, it would be Carlos Ortiz that I'm actually looking at. I think he could be kind of a sneaky play here. I mean, right now it says projected ownership at 10%. We'll see how that all bakes out. But, not been in the great recent form. He had a kind of a good start to the year, but it's kind of fallen off since. I mean, the last good showing was at Memorial. You can see making some birdies, but does everything I like. It's going to come down to the putter. It's kind of shocking, actually. I think DFS pricing, again, you got 60 guys, and really after you get past the top 20, it's pretty rough. But I just think the pricing for this is not great. And then the odds, if you've not bet yet on anyone, you're going to see odds have dropped quite a bit on a lot of guys. I think the casinos or, the bookies, the betting, just because it's such a shorter field. And I think they might just feel like, I guess from what you look at the odds, that maybe this is up, and maybe it's a lot to do with, I'm guessing, because Rahm DeChambeau pulled out. That kind of just slaughtered the odds. So anyways, we'll get into that in a second. Wells Fargo. All right. So 65th, best with a 19th. What about the CJ Cup, a 48th? What about the Zozo, a 35th? BMW, he had a 25th last year. That's pretty good. What about the Byron? A 21st and a 12th. Memorial, he had a 16th recently. Again, that was his last kind of good showing. And then WGC events, he's only played the 2 in Mexico, but he's always done well. It's one of the reasons why I kind of thought of him. Just he is a very proud player. Same with Abraham Answer for their country. I think he, again, I think they're all going to want to be there. They all want to win for their country, or they wouldn't have done it. But I don't know. I'm just kind of leaning that way. That Abraham or him. I didn't pick Abraham, but I'm kind of almost instead going with Ortiz and saving some dollars, to be honest. Of course, I already mentioned Siwoo, trying to get out military status. Who knows? I mean, you can see fairways gain number 1, so ball striking has never been a problem. It's going to be everything else, and just I feel like he's a little bit like the old Rom or like Ty Hatton. It seems like a Siwoo Kim is in the hunt and playing good golf for like the first day or two. Watch out. If he struggles the first day, as you see here, withdraw. Like I think he can, definitely just kind of flake out and just kind of quit on it. So next guy, I'm going with Sebastian Munoz. I like him a lot. Always have. I've been kind of on him since he's hit the tour. Of course, he missed a cut at the Open. Had a good showing at the John Deere. Of course, the putter was very hot, and that's what it's going to come down. If he gets that hot putter again, I mean, the guy has distance. He can hit fairways. Good ball striker. Good on approach. All that solid. It's just what can he do with the putter? And I think you'll see that. At the John Deere, he gained 3 strokes. Of course, at the Charles Schwab. So he had this nice run here, even though he missed some cuts. But he was gaining with the putter. And he kind of went cold with the putter and then kind of came back. So we'll see. And of course, I don't have any information for the Open, how he did with the putter. The Wells Fargo miscut recently. The CJ Cup, I knew he had a good showing there. He had a 9th. Also the Zozo, he had a good showing. He had a 14th. That was all here in the States. The BMW had an 8th in the FedEx playoffs. So that was a nice showing. We played the Byron. The Byron Nelson recently had a 55th, but before that at Trinity, which is Zoysa, he had a 10th. And then let's see WGC events. He's only played in the Mexico ones too. A 22nd and a 14th. So again, he's already a 16% ownership, but he is my cup of tea. Gonna pass on the Rosner, the French, Thomas Detry. I'm going to pass on that. The next guy, this was kind of a tough one. Look at his ownership. So this could be interesting from a DFS perspective. Of course, Vegas has been running hot here. He had a T2 at Palmetto, 11th at John Deere. He's just in good form right now. Could have easily, could have also won that tournament at the 3M. Making birdies. The putters kind of come alive. Let's go click on him. I want to go see what he ended up with the putter. I did not look at a lot of stroke gain data from the 3M. So, yeah, green across the board, gained 2 strokes with the putter. So that's pretty impressive for Mr. Vegas. Let's go look at the Wells Fargo. 43rd recently, but an 8th prior. CJ Cup. That would be across seas, but he had a 16th. What about the BMW? He hasn't qualified for that for a while. The Zozo, he did not make. What about the Byron? He had a 9th recently at the Byron Nelson. Zoysa fairways, hence why I'm doing that, just so you guys know again. And if I've been doing, I forgot to do the PGA at Belle Reve. My bad. I wanted to check that out. So that's 2018, but it's older data. So I don't know. I was just kind of curious about it with the Zoysa, but it's not in the world. So here's the one here over in China. I don't know. Of course, these are all no-cut events, but as long as you see 40 or better, that's pretty solid, right? I mean, that's half the field. So if these are all way above average, and then you got one kind of a little below. So pretty solid in WGC. So like Johnny Vegas, even though I think I mentioned I was kind of back and forth is, the travel. He's played a lot of golf recently. He had to get on a jet. You got to fly for, I don't know, almost 20 hours, whatever it is. So yeah, of course you've got the other Japan player with Hideki. Guys won a ton over there. He's showing some life here. But yeah, I just don't know enough about him. I'm not going to, maybe again, when I'm just, doing DFSs would depend on ownership, but I think it could be a solid play. Next guy I'm going to land on is Mito Piera. I think for that price tag, of course, the model likes him, but again, it's not a, I mean, it's enough data. It's 12 rounds he's had, but, you know, you can see since the cut, when I first picked him at the Rocket Mortgage, missed his cut in his first PGA. And after that, he's been trending in the right direction. Now, easier, you know, courses, easier fields. We don't, you know, this field is not easy. I don't think it's super tough, but it's, you know, you got, again, 20 guys above you that are really good. Other than that, I think, you know, he can handle the rest. It's going to be a course with the putter with him. And again, we don't know what this course is going to play like, but I don't think it's going to be super hard. Like I said, I'd give it right now average, from everything I can see. Long on distance, but everything else looks pretty simple. And there's really nothing I can click on Mito. He's not going to have any of the comparable courses. So really, we can just look at recent form. We can look at what he's been doing, and everything is solid green, just a putter. Nothing on Rasmus, CT Pan, nope. Mateus Schwab, nope. You got Jazz John, you know, all these guys, all European players. I mean, it's going to be, you know, when you're doing DFS, you're going to be sprinkling some of these guys in one way or the other. And it's whoever hits on these is going to win that, because I guarantee one of these guys in this mid to lower, you know, 7,000 is going to pop the lineups. And the guy that I'm actually on at 6,800, I'm going to go with Norlander. I mean, been showing some good form recently. You know, made a bunch of cuts. T25 at Palmetto. You had a T5 at Barbasol. You see here, birdies are starting to peak. Everything's solid. The putter's been working. His driving distance, so, you know, it's not the longest, which is kind of funny because if you think of a Norlander, you know, pretty big guy. You'd think he could stroke it, but he hits a lot of fairways, so that's what I'm looking for. And if you're hitting at 280, 290, you know, I'm fine with that. I think, you know, it'll be okie dokie from there. And I highly doubt, we'll plug some of this in, but I don't think he's going to have a lot. So Wells Fargo, he missed a cut recently. Don't think he played in the CJ. Don't think he played in the Zozo. No BMW. Nope. What about Memorial miscut? So yeah, there's just nothing else. I mean, I'll put WGC in. Nope. He doesn't have anything else that we can really look at, but I just like recent form. I like what he's been doing. So like a Mito, I'm good there. You got Lahiri, who just recently came off this T3 at the Barbasol. I'm just throwing it out there. Could be kind of sneaky. The guy's, you know, it's kind of funny that I'm shocked at his putter stats. Let me go click on him. When I watch the guy, he reminds me a little bit of how Munoz plays, where it's pretty solid, especially on approach. I just see him miss a ton of putts. So he finally gained with the putter at the Barbasol, but you can kind of see, and maybe this is what I watched a lot of, you know, losing almost 7 strokes, 5 strokes. You can see what I mentioned on approach, pretty solid on approach. I'm sorry, that's that. Where was I? Well, I guess he's not as solid as I thought. Good off the tee. Approach has been kind of not so hot. I thought that's where he usually, you know, I guess approach is where he, so off the tee and around the green has been good, and that's about it. And then approach and putting is where he struggles. Anyways, you got Arnaus now, who's the only one I think that's representing Spain. And then that's really it. The rest, and you can see it for some odd reason, the graphics have went a little wacky-do. But, you know, that's where I stopped. So let's go jump in and summarize this for you guys, and then I'll get you out of here. Okay, so my top 10 DFS plays. I'm starting out with Morikawa, my number 1. Moving on to Victor. So both, you know, the young guys, awesome tee to green. Both of them, putter can go up or down. Right now, of course, Morikawa has been pretty hot with the putter. You got Cam Smith, who's usually a very good putter. It's just making sure he keeps the tee ball in play and keeps hitting those tight approaches, good out of the sand. Corey Connors, elite tee to green, just, you know, make some putts, make the 3-footers. Mac Hughes, again, more like a Cam Smith. He's been having a solid game all around, so I like Mac Hughes. You got Carlos Ortiz, again, putter issues, but other than that, good tee to green. Mr. Sebastian Munoz, big fan of him. He could be a sneaky play here. And you got Mr. Vegas, who's not going to be a sneaky play, it looks like, but he's coming off great form, but could be a little tired, so that'd be interesting to see. You got Mito Piero, the new guy on tour. You know, it's a couple wins, come out the Corn Ferry, and it's done, you know, just progressively gotten better. Again, weaker fields, easier courses, but his game is very, if you start to watch him, he's almost like a cheap Joaquin Niemann, to be honest. You just check him out. His swing looks exactly like I mentioned this before. Great ball striker. It's just, the putting is where it can lack. And then last but not least, Hendrick Norlander will be my 10th guy in, down in the 6,000s. I'm probably not going to be, from a DFS perspective, again, I'm not going to play a ton. I'll probably do a little bit of showdown. Yeah, that's where I'll be. Now onto the betting side, where I've got in some bets. Again, now you guys have to go check. So the betting before DeChambeau and Rahm left, you were getting, well, here, let's go through some of these. So I don't know about Munoz. I didn't check, but I like him for a first round leader. He's 60-1. I always make that bet. That's just it. He just pops first round a lot. Usually Thursday, Friday, good player. This is one I was talking about. So outright winning, at one time, Mackenzie Hughes was 130-1, and it's dropped to 70-1. And you're going to notice like a lot of 28-1s all across the top. Like you're just not getting good odds on anyone. So it's a tough betting. And I said it's also, from a DFS, pretty high in pricing. And then my next for a 70-1, I'll take Vegas. So again, I mean, the guys that are up there in odds are just nobody I could even think about possibly pulling it out. I think I put a big bet on, or not a big bet, but a big odds long shot on Arnaus, just because he's the only guy representing Spain now, and he's done pretty well on the PGA Tour. He'll pop up here or there, but yeah. So, anyways, I hope that helps. If you are gonna bet or do DFS, because they do have a DFS game, which I'm kind of shocked. I hope that information helps. But again, we don't have a lot of historical information. Well, we don't have any historical information on this course or how it's going to play. But going with the stuff that's how I'm going to kind of decipher. So again, if you're new to the show, I would appreciate it greatly to hit the subscribe button, become a member. Typically, I do 3 shows a week, and they're usually a little better probably than this one. But I wanted to get this together for you guys either way, because the stuff I saw out there so far wasn't too grandiose. And of course, if you like what I do, hit the like button, share it with anybody else. And if I can help you with anything from a one and done to who you're betting on or anything you want to bang off my head, hit me up on Twitter or in the YouTube comments. All the best luck to you guys. Like I said, let me know if you want me to do a quick ownership projections on Wednesday. I'll do that for you guys. All right. Talk to you later. Have a great week.